Attention, you! Yes, you! It's time for the Clash Royale League in Europe. Our first match features two top 4 teams, deadlocked in the standings. Third-ranked SK Gaming against fourth-ranked Allegiance. The playoffs are close. This one counts a lot. Just saying.
A rematch with playoff implications, making his return to the lineup, the King of the Hill specialist Donkey Kong, coming back after being injured when he was hit by a car. And yeah, SK has something planned for him, a little welcome back gift. And I bet you they have a welcome back gift of their own. Hard competition here as we make the playoff push. Hello and welcome to Clash Royale League. I'm Rich Slayton. Joining me is Andrew Guy as we wrap up the 7th week of competition here in CRL EU. Today is a big one. 4 of the top 5 teams in our standings.
Yes, absolutely. We hop into our very first match today. We've got SK Gaming going against Allegiance, and as you guys can see on the scoreboard here, they're tied at 6-4. However, SK did take the first match of the season.
This is a big one for our playoff picture. Of course, both these teams currently sitting in the 3rd and 4th spot. If things stayed the same, they would play in the first round. The winner of that would go on to play our 2nd place team. And the winner of that would play the 1st place squad, which gets a 1st and 2nd round bye on their path to the World Finals.
Yes, and the World Finals will be taking place in Tokyo, Japan on December 1st. You can go in-game and check out all the information right there.
And you can follow along as all these teams compete for that spot by hitting subscribe on the Clash Royale Esports YouTube page. Don't forget to ring that bell for all your notifications. Go to esports.clashroyale.com to follow along our standings. And of course, some of you are here from that Clash Royale Esports tab inside your app. Later today, we have another gargantuan matchup. Team Liquid facing off against the #1 European team in queso. But right now, we have another big one. It is SK Gaming taking on Allegiance.
Yes, Allegiance coming out today with Doberman, Wiko, Lupanji, and Donkey Kong coming back after a early season injury. And then we've got SK Gaming, Loweye, Matt01, Mythja, and Morton coming out to try to bring this one home.
The last time these two squads faced off, it was SK Gaming taking the match in 2 sets. And to hear about how they plan to do the same thing again, let's go to Coach Ricardo Gonzalez standing by with Christy St. John.
Thanks, guys. I mean, last time you played Allegiance, you took it in 2 sets, but now the playoff pressure is on. Tell me, how is your team responding?
I think my team is responding well, now especially that the season is closing. They feel that we now actually have a chance to actually get there. And yeah, what I tell them is that their future is in their own hands, and when they are there on stage, I just have to have confidence on them, and they have to do what it takes.
I mean, the real question is, are they going to be able to play on stage as well as they play on their couch at home?
I think, especially in the beginning of the season, maybe they felt more the pressure. I know that we are playing for objectives and goals, but you know, as long as they're not dreams and they're goals, that means it's possible, and I think they know that they can do it.
And you've switched some things up, and it's worked very well. You've had 2 sweeps with Matt and Loweye in the 2v2. Tell me, why did that switch up happen?
I think it's just us re-evaluating ourselves, you know. It's a constant thing in our team where we're just looking not for what is working, but what is the best, you know. Winning is not the same thing as winning properly, you know. So we're always trying to reinvent ourselves and try to give our best out there. And the reason of the changes is precisely that.
All right, well, the pressure is on. It's going to be a very exciting match. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Christy. The pressure is on indeed. One of these teams will take a very important step towards the World Finals. To hear how their coaches will prepare their squads, let's take a look inside the war rooms.
Comme je l'ai déjà dit avant, ça va être 4 finales à jouer. Là, j'ai pas besoin de vous le dire parce que vous le savez aussi bien que moi. C'est peut-être le match le plus important de notre saison. Maintenant, il n'y a pas besoin de se mettre plus de pression. Voilà, c'est un match très important, certes. Maintenant, vous êtes ici, il y a une raison. Vous savez très bien que vous avez tous le niveau. Le niveau, vous l'avez déjà prouvé. Vous avez juste à sortir de cette salle. Là, vous allez là-dessus et vous montrez que vous avez le niveau. Vous montrez que vous êtes les meilleurs et que vous méritez votre place de actuellement 4e et bien meilleur parce qu'on va finir bien meilleur que ça. Moi, j'ai une très grande confiance en vous. Le match, on l'a bien préparé. Il n'y a pas de raison que ça se passe pas bien. Donc moi, je vous fais confiance. On va là et on les éclate. Ça va? Allez. 1, 2, 3, allez!
I just want to give you an advice. And I mean, you guys know this, but just think about it, which is use the present today to, make a better future for yourselves. But right now, your main focus should be reach the playoffs. You guys know that.
Okay.
Yes.
And their goal is to reach playoffs too. So we're all fighting for the same goal. We just have to prove that we deserve to be there and that we are the better team. That's all. And I trust in you guys.
Okie dokie.
Okay? On 3. 1, 2, 3.
SK Gaming!
For everything there is a season, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to spawn skeletons, and a time to build bomb towers, a time for 2v2 and wait, the time for 2v2 is now! SK and Allegiance, send your combatants into the arena!
The last time these squads faced off, Andrew, it was so close. SK taking the sweep, but in 2 games that were hotly contested.
Yeah, today we got coming out for ALG Doberman and Wiko. We've seen this pair twice now, and they've had varied success. Their opponents, however, Matt 01 and Loi, have had great success. This is a duo that's done very, very well. They haven't lost yet.
Taking a look at the card bans for all potential 3 games of this 2v2 set. Tornado, very common. Minor, which has been more common as of late.
Yeah, I love the minor ban, Rich. It provides so much utility here in 2v2, whether it's tanking for lava pups or just chipping away at the tower the whole time. It is a great card to get out of play.
So we'll see how they utilize these strategies. Game number 1 of 2v2 on its way. SK's Matt01 and Loi at the top of your screen. At the bottom, Doberman and Wiko representing Allegiance. And the last time these 2 squads met, Andrew, only one of these 4 players was in the set, and that was Doberman.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed since week 1. Obviously, you heard their coach talking about it, really, really trying to find the winning pairs and the person should be in their 1v1 set. And it appears with Loi and Matt01 that they've done that.
And here we go, seeing some Royal Giant play. SK Gaming deciding to go with a deck construction, taking advantage of a card that hasn't worked well here in 2v2 yet, but they seem to have a different formula.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a way to implement the Royal Giant into 2v2 to make it a deadly card, and I think both these teams have realized that the double Royal Giant decks, were not working earlier in the week, and now they're trying to do the Giant Skelly Royal Giant deck, which we saw, I believe, one other time.
So we'll see who can make better use of the newly changed Royal Giant with that 60% buff to its hits. That's another 95 damage per shot.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage in those couple shots in, even though just 2 was a very, very quick evening up of the scores.
And so far, it seems to be SK Gaming doing the better job of getting their Royal Giant on tower. That cannon card's going to be very interesting, Andrew, if it can get into phase 2 before the Royal Giant makes it to tower. That's going to change a lot of these shots.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's going to be something that ALG is going to want to drop early on because that second bit of, I guess its second life has a good amount of duration and health. So if they play it early on in defense, they can hope that it dies and the Royal Giant focuses on that instead.
The Bats doing a good job here of picking up the initial aggro from that Inferno Dragon. And here we go, Royal Giant doesn't get the final coup de grace shot, but puts that right-hand tower down in spell range.
Yeah, and the problem here is if they open with Royal Giant, SK does, and then ALG wants to respond with their cannon cart, by the time that the Royal Giants cross the river, there's no way the cannon cart's going to be dead. It's going to already be shooting at their Princess Towers. So cannon cart might have been better as an idea than it is in actual execution.
And the Lumberjack taking care of that Royal Giant in the first place, and now we get a Magic Archer. Looks like it will take tower, so now Matt and Loi just need to play some good defense here for 22 seconds, putting pressure in the left-hand lane as well.
Yeah, sometimes the best defense is an offense. Matt and Loi recognizing if they put pressure in the left-hand lane, then ALG cannot attack the right. As you see there, that Royal Giant coming in just a bit late. It should be able to take this tower, though. Maybe one
Will
more
it get
shot.
a second
there
shot?
It is.
It does. So here we are into sudden death overtime. but there is a big push coming down the left-hand lane, and Doberman and Wiko do not have a ton of elixir to deal with this.
Yes, and this is that moment with that cannon cart going down and now tanking one shot for their tower. A quick and smart way for ALG to kind of even up their elixir deficit.
And here you go, though. It's SK Gaming with a significant advantage, and this is that Royal Giant in the pocket, raged up, so much damage being done. People say this is an overpowered card right now, and at the river, maybe not so much. In the pocket, though, it can get on tower so fast.
Yeah, that raged up Royal Giant in the pocket, so devastating. A couple shots really quickly, and again, you see they have to respond to it immediately. SK saying, good game, recognizing spell cycle range is in sight.
Their left-hand tower not even damaged, so SK Gaming is going to throw a couple of spells, play smart defense, not let a Royal Giant pop off on their tower. But when this fireball comes down, that should be it. One more tick of the poison, two more ticks, sorry, and there we go. SK Gaming doing it in style.
Yeah, doing a great job getting down that tombstone early so that when that Royal Giant was dropped in the pocket, it had no effect, recognizing their opponent's win condition and crippling it.
So here we go. This was the big push that did most of the damage. The Royal Giant getting on tower, and you see, it would have been nice for Allegiance to have that cannon cart go into phase 2 early on to get the aggression from the Royal Giant. It does not happen.
Yeah, I mean, dropping it early was the idea behind it, but just no one attacking it makes it not get into that phase 2, and then you see the Royal Giant in the pocket getting a few shots off. So much damage. You have to respond to it immediately, and with the delay, or with the increased deploy time, or the reduction in deploy time, excuse me, it makes it a very hard card to catch.
So very different than last time. Both games were razor thin. Here, SK takes the first one handily. Game number 2 on its way.
Let's go.
You know, Andrew, the first time these two squads played in 2v2, game number 1 was much closer. SK Gaming had their own tower go down to 237 under an onslaught of 8 Royal Hogs and just barely beat the buzzer by throwing a rocket on their opponent's tower.
Yeah, that 4-second deploy time for the rocket, just getting there in the nick of time. ALG definitely remembers that one.
And here we go, Matt and Loweye giving a slightly different look, but there's a giant skeleton on their own tower. That's going to be devastating here in the early moments.
Ooh, and that balloon being raged up, getting a drop in is going to basically be a tower trade to start off. Very, very interesting start for both of these teams. And now you have some interesting things to talk about here. You've got the Lava Hound deck, the air deck, the beatdown from SK, but you've also now got this Royal Giant being able to be placed in the pocket essentially after this 291 damage is dropped.
And there aren't a lot of ground counters in the deck of Matt01 and Loweye, although that flying machine coupled with the guards doing a good job stopping that Royal Giant.
Yeah, and with 291 health on the tower and ALG opting to sacrifice theirs for defense, that 291 HP is a lot more than it looks like, Rich. They're going to have to allocate attention and elixir to it. That's going to probably put them at a deficit going into the second tower trade.
Yeah, if they don't get some troops on there, it's going to require 2 spells at minimum to get that thing down. So a nice lead, and at the moment that Magic Archer not being dealt with, so maybe making a choice here is Matt and Loweye.
Yep, they're opting to ignore it, which, you know, they're the pros here. They've got a game plan. They got strategy. I'm sure they both thought about it and talked about it really quickly. I don't think they should have just sacrificed. I think that they had an opportunity to defend and create more of a frustrating offense for ALG.
And the thing that opens up now is what we're seeing in this exact moment, that Royal Giant dropping in the pocket, which is so much more devastating than trying to stop it at the river.
Absolutely, and you know, SK's got a bank on this double Lava Hound balloon push, which is a huge, very, very strong push, but, you know, ALG drops the Royal Giant in the pocket, and there's just nothing there to meet him, so now they're even up again.
Using the snowball to move that Inferno Dragon around, but it's not going to be enough. So down to 11:05 is that right-hand tower, 1060 now, but with 23 seconds, I don't think they have the firepower to take this thing down.
Yeah, definitely not, Rich. And I again, I'm going to go back to that. I believe they should have protected their Princess Tower, because opening up the opportunity to drop the Royal Giant in the pocket, which is exactly what ALG did as soon as that tower went down, A misplay in my mind.
And it's going to be not quite a 3 crown for Allegiance taking that victory. So this is very different. In game number 2 last time they met, Allegiance took a 1,000 hit point lead and got SK down to 446, could not close. This time they close it out well, and as you said, that Magic Archer staying alive might have been the entire game.
Yeah, so you see that Royal Giant coming down in the pocket, recognizing this huge push coming in, but they've got Inferno Dragon there, they've got an Ice Wizard and 2 Mega Minions, more than enough to play adequate defense. Royal Giant can go in naked in the pocket and take that tower by himself. A misplay by SK in my mind, but maybe they can bounce back here in game 3, Rich.
Game number 3 about to get underway. A lot on the line for Allegiance with a match down to SK in the standings, trying to get it back right now. Game number 3, the 2v2 set hanging in the balance. It was Matt01 and Loai who were dominant in game number 1. Game number 2, though, Doberman and Wiko taking advantage of every opening, and it looks like SK Gaming going back to the deck that worked for them so well in the first one.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting how you've seen the Royal Giant and the guards come out a couple of times, but the guards are behind the Royal Giant. You wonder if they should be in front. You know, it's happened twice now, and that Royal Giant goes down very, very quickly.
Yeah, despite the big hits it can deliver, the Royal Giant can get dropped fairly fast. So you definitely want to keep something in front of it to keep it alive. And here, this Royal Giant will not only get shots, but the Inferno Dragon will also get target.
Yep, and that's going to be just enough sizzle to take away a few hundred HP. Not a huge problem, but definitely not damage you want to take.
Well, we are seeing the cannon being utilized by both teams as their defensive building.
Wow,
a lot of heft there.
Yeah, I was going to say, even though the double drop of the Mega Minion and the Royal Giant, the Inferno Dragon actually focuses on the Royal Giant, not what SK wanted to do. It being a newer card, again, in the meta, probably not a card that these pros play with a lot since it doesn't have a lot of viability in high ladder. Probably still figuring out the mechanics, making small misplays like that.
So you saw Allegiance preparing to go with their own Royal Giant in the left lane, but it's SK forcing them to play defense on this side. That Lumberjack will take the Royal Giant down, but not before a lot of damage gets done.
Yeah, and it was also a great drop of the Lumberjack, pulling that Giant Skelly back away from the tower. That would have been tower down for Allegiance had that not happened.
So now we're entering into double elixir time. So far, it is SK Gaming with the lead. And here we go, this cannon placement, very, very nice.
Yeah, great use of the cannon coming down at the exact correct moment to pull the Royal Giant's focus and the Giant Skelly.
You know, I spoke with SK Gaming. They've been specifically practicing and preparing this deck over and over and over again, which has 2 benefits. Not only do they know how to play it very well offensively, but also they know how to play the defense against it very well.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. You use a card a lot, you recognize the things that are your biggest frustrations when playing it, and a tower trade here for both teams getting it nice and even, but however, SK's tower is a little bit less healthy on the right-hand side.
So got to deal with this Inferno Dragon before it gets on tower, and there we go, nice pickup, but now we see the Royal Giant and the Giant Skeleton in the pocket. That's going to be a lot of damage.
Wow, and that Royal Giant is just staying alive, going to town on that tower, and that is going to be it for the most part. They're going to need a couple spells in, boom, double fireball, and ALG clawing back from a loss in their first game, and Loai and Matt01 not happy with how those last 2 games went.
Allegiance is taking advantage of openings, and in that moment, they were the first ones, and that might have been the race here. Who was first to get their offense in the pocket?
Yeah, and you saw it. That Royal Giant in the pocket was a huge, huge moment. You get the Giant Skeleton down first to tank, essentially, and that Royal Giant is going to town on that tower. The Inferno Dragon is getting distracted by all the units around it, and you recognize that Royal Giant staying alive for even more than 3 seconds is a huge amount of damage to try to come back from.
That zap reset you just saw on the Inferno Dragon probably was what was the coup de grace
Yes.
in this situation, to use a French term for the French team. Getting the opening there for that Royal Giant. And you saw the SK Gaming was prepping to drop maybe both of their Royal Giants in the pocket, and they made the choice to play defense instead.
Yes.
And you have to ask this question, even though we were in a tight moment there, if they had dropped 2 Royal Giants in the pocket with all that firepower, could they have won the tower race in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, you might have been able to even up, right? I mean, it doesn't seem like you're going to be able to defend, so you got to go all in on your offense, trade the towers like they did in the very first tower trade earlier in the game, and maybe try to go for a 3 crown, but not coming together for SK. Allegiance bouncing back with a great, great deck composition.
SK Gaming looking to even things up. Next up, it's 1v1.
During the 1v1 battle, things really heat up. I mean, you might as well be sitting next to a furnace, spitting out fire spirits as rockets rain down from above. I say, turn up the heat. Lupanji and Morton, fire it up in the arena!
Lupanji and Morton taking their places on the stage for 1v1. SK Gaming, their backs against the wall. Allegiance looking to even up the season series. Lupanji in this set currently at 2-2 overall. Morton currently undefeated at 2 wins and 1 loss overall. And your card bands active for all of our potential 3 games here in 1v1. It's going to be from Allegiance Ice Golem, which we've seen before, and a balloon band from SK Gaming.
Yeah, the Ice Golem providing such a great amount of utility in the sense of it being a great tank. It's so good at kiting units around, and also it can just pick up anything to just a great distraction unit.
So here we go, 1v1, Lupanji versus Morton. Game number 1 underway. SK's Morton at the top of your screen. Lupanji for Allegiance at the bottom.
And we won't be seeing any of those Ice Golem balloon combos opposite side. We saw Vulcan use that very, very well, using that old school Pompeo balloon deck.
And a Royal Giant at the river in response to the cycled log, so we'll see how this fares against a Prince and Baby Dragon.
Yeah, very interesting opening there for Lupanji. Very aggressive, probably running a Golem beatdown here. And that Inferno Dragon is not what Morton wanted to see.
So Lupanji definitely having a good answer here to a Golem, and when it comes across the river, there we go. Good call there, Andrew. The big question will be who can insert their will into this game. How often can Lupanji get that Royal Giant across?
Oh, wow, and I like this. I really like doubling down with the Hunter, another great tank killer, because you saw Morton dropping that Golem in response to the Inferno Dragon being out of cycle. And the Bowler, man, this is just a new meta, all types of new meta.
A lot of answers to that Golem with the Tornado as well, so really a tough matchup here for Morton in game number 1.
Yeah, I just don't feel like that Tornado did exactly what Lupanji wanted. It seemed like the units could have been maybe pulled a little bit farther away, or maybe it was used a little early, but a lot of damage coming down on his left side Princess Tower.
You know, looking at Lupanji's deck and what Morton is playing so far, though, Andrew, since that Bowler cannot knock back any of the troops that are currently on the board, it feels like it might be an unfortunately wasted space in Lupanji's deck.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point you make there, Rich. None of those units are susceptible to the knockback in that boulder, which basically makes the Bowler and the Royal Giant combo at the river so much less effective than it could have been before, and he doesn't have any splashy troops that would just, you know, smash and roll over. So very interesting deck choice here. You got to think that Morton kind of has matchup.
Yeah, it gets interesting. You know, I said a minute ago, kind of a difficult matchup for Morton given all of the big tank responses, but with that Bowler in play, you know, it's starting to feel like Morton might have some good openings. Of course, how does he defend this big Royal Giant push?
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, too, is that the Royal Giant is going to keep pushing into the exact same lane as the Golem. That's one thing that once your opponent has decided where they want to drop their Royal Giant, it costing so much and doing so much damage, they usually don't want to switch up their lane halfway through the game. So this is going to be a very interesting push. Coming down to 10 seconds left in regulation, Lupanji's got to make something happen right here, and that is an excellent NATO. However, the Baby Dragon's still pulling it back over.
And here we are seeing some utility out of that Bowler, keeping the Golemites a little bit off tower. Yep. So there is some use for it here.
Yeah, and rolling over those guards, really, really nice there. But that Baby Dragon for Morton might have been the game changer right there. Not really a misplay on his part, just kind of a surprising aggro from the Inferno.
Although Lupanji looks to be gearing up for a big Royal Giant push here, so Morton has to prepare to get this thing taken down before it gets tower. It doesn't take that many shots now.
No, and I wonder if that NATO was just a bit early. Like, I understand what he was trying to do to protect himself, but no, he ends up playing great defense with that Prince, coupled with those guards.
0 shots on the tower from that one, so now it's looking like Morton will take game number 1 of this 1v1 set.
Wow.
As we head into the replay, Andrew, talk us through this moment.
Yeah, we've got that Hunter right there meeting the, trying to meet the Golem and stop it. Those guards coming down after the NATO, protecting the Hunter, keeping alive your highest DPS troop is so important, Rich.
There we have it. Morton taking game number 1, a very important lead in this set, hoping to push SK Gaming all the way to King of the Hill.
Yeah, losing that 2v2 set, not a position SK wants to be in. Now Morton in the pressure spot of pushing this to King of the Hill. He's got to close out this set.
A reminder of stakes here. It is Allegiance that needs to win this one to even up the season series. And we are underway. As a reminder, SK's Morton at the top of your screen, Lupanji for Allegiance at the bottom.
Gotta wonder what decks these guys are going to come out with after that very, very interesting first game.
Your ban cards are still the Balloon and Ice Golem.
Yes, no worries about that Ice Golem Balloon combo that Vulcan did some dominance with the other day.
A little do-si-do square dancing from these two competing tombstones. Ice Wizards behind and a Poison.
Yeah, you gotta think that we're probably going to see graveyards from both of these gentlemen.
Pretty even deck construction so far, and yeah, there you go, Andrew. Graveyard number 1 coming down.
Yeah, an early graveyard and an aggressive tornado. I mean, I like it. He's going to get a ton of damage on the tower here, but he's not left with a lot of elixir. Surprisingly, though, Morton is only at a 2 elixir advantage.
That tornado not just creating some opportunities, but pulling defensive troops towards the tower, getting that Baby Dragon's damage on both them and the tower as well.
Absolutely, and that just basically means that that's a less of a defensive response is needed from Lupanji, using that NATO as an offensive and defensive move in that moment.
So while both players running similar general archetypes here, we do have some slight differences. It is Morton going with the log, Lupanji taking the Barbarian Barrel, and Lupanji also throwing that cannon cart in his deck.
Yeah, and that was a great use of the Barb Barrel there, tanking for the cannon cart. I mean, if you have the ability to, and you'll recognize pros do it a lot, they will throw a very cheap tank in front of a weak card that does high damage just to create more of a response out of their opponent.
So we are entering double elixir time, and it is the Frenchman Lupanji with a slight lead. Not a significant one, but with how tight these games have been, maybe an important one.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised to see Lupanji placing that tombstone up in the center, because, you know, Lupanji's the one with the cannon cart, not Morton, and Morton does the correct thing in my mind, which is playing the tombstone behind your Princess Tower when you're playing against Graveyard, just because those skeletons create a bit of defense that is usually unmitigated.
And Lupanji's tornado work continuing to be pretty solid. So here we go, defending decently well, although his Baby Dragon turned the wrong way.
Yeah, but doing a great job, like you said, using that NATO to stop the units from crossing the river, which is the most important thing when you're playing against Graveyard. You can't have something tanking for those skeletons.
So we are not far away from sudden death overtime, both players trying to make their big Graveyard pushes, and there you go, Morton trying to take a page out of Lupanji's book, but his Baby Dragon gets turned the opposite way again.
Yeah, Lupanji saw it coming. You know he did, so he dropped the Baby Dragon. Again, using that Barb Barrel to jump in front. However, the Barb Barrel doesn't tank for the cannon cart. It just goes straight through and gets on top of that knight, and now it's on top of the tower, getting some swings in. 2 swings. Is it going to get a third? Yes, it will, Rich, and that is a huge amount of damage for Lupanji.
That is a lot done, and at this point being ahead by about 600 hit points, very, very important.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think with these guys, having Graveyard as their win condition, right now it's going to be about playing strong defense for Lupanji and probably trying to spell cycle and graveyard cycle out in the sense of that he doesn't really even need to support it that much anymore. He can just drop the poison and the graveyard on top and kind of just hope for the best.
And we are pretty much at the end here for Morton in game number 2, down to 156. So just a little defense here from Lupanji, get that poison back and cycle. He has to be careful here. Okay, the Baby Dragon playing defense. So as soon as we see a poison, it will be game number 2 for the Frenchman. And that is it. We are all even here in our 1v1 set.
Absolutely, Lupanji bouncing back, stealing that game, and Morton chuckling about it. Obviously, probably not as happy as that king looks.
And let's take a look at the replay. This was the big graveyard push that changed everything.
Yeah, you see somehow, some way those Skellies tanked just long enough for that Barbarian, Bob the Barbarian, to get on the tower, and 3 swings in, even with the slow of the Ice Wizard, and that is a ton of damage for Lupanji.
Not just a ton of damage, but a lot of elixir spent by Morton in defense, so not having the opportunity to mount a counterattack, and here is the end. And once he got in that elixir hole, Morton just could not get back in the game.
Yeah, Lupanji kept his foot on the gas, and in this moment, you know the graveyard is a very, very expensive win condition, so Morton was never able to get back around to it. Lupanji knowing that, keeping up the pressure, now going into a very interesting game number 3.
The third and final game of 1v1. Everything hanging on these next few minutes.
Absolutely. Morton really trying to bring home this set for his team to push it to King of the Hill.
Allegiance really wants a win here, not just to take this match, but also to even up the season series and give them a little bit more to say in any tiebreaker situation as we move closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, and that is a very, very big possibility, Rich. With both of these teams being at 6 and 4, this is a huge match. And a very early graveyard from Lupanji, and this is what I was talking about. You get those early graveyards in if your opponent defends very, very well. Now, Morton has a great opportunity to get down a graveyard of his own with a very healthy Baby Dragon tank.
Not just very healthy, a pristine Baby Dragon.
Yes. But doing the correct thing here and opting to just keep his elixir advantage and golem up. Wow.
So we'll see how this plays out. Two decks that have a lot in common, but one very critical difference. It's Golem versus Graveyard.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I was just caught in the first game still. Morton here opting for the beatdown. A great position being in with that elixir lead. And so now we're going to probably see this Prince. Oh, never mind. I was going to say the Prince might take out the cannon, and then the cannon cart will be a distraction for the Golem, but not even necessary. Excellent defense here from Lupanji.
Well, Andrew, a lot of great defensive tools here in Lupanji's box when going up against a Golem deck. Of course, you have the Tornado and Ice Wizard, a fantastic combination. The Baby Dragon there as well to take advantage of those Tornado pulls.
Yeah, a very interesting interaction here. That Bar Barrel was meant to tank for that Cannon Cart. However, the Baby Dragon picked off the Cannon Cart and that Barbarian got a few hits in. So not exactly how I bet either of those guys thought it was going to go, but not the worst case scenario for Morton.
Nice high placement in the graveyard territory of the Golem. So not a traditional spot, but from a defensive standpoint, very smart work by the player for SK.
Yeah, and with this Ice Wizard, Tombstone, NATO, Poison combo, we know how strong all these cards are together. It's going to be a tough chore for Morton to break through.
We are now in double elixir time, though, so Morton can create these Golem pushes with higher frequency at this stage.
But that also means you can get down twice as many graveyards as you were before, and also in this situation, you might want to switch up your tower placement or the tower that you're going for if you're playing graveyard.
So we are entering into sudden death overtime. Now it just takes one tower to go down and take the entire game and the set.
And now with that NATO pulling that Cannon Cart in, again, the Golem being distracted for another second. The Prince is now out of play. Great defense from Lupanji. Does he have that extra? Yep, there's the Baby Drag.
So we're seeing a guard split in the back. A cycle, I'm guessing, at this point, although those are a great response to a graveyard drop. Maybe not feeling the pressure there because he does have the poison.
Yeah, a lot of responses to Lupanji's graveyard with the Baby Dragon, the NATO, the Poison, the Guards. All of those things are not things you want to see in your opponent's hand if you're playing graveyard.
But still a lot of damage on this tower right now. So even with all those answers between the Poison Graveyard, Lupanji making a statement here with that push.
I was going to say, I felt like the Baby Dragon and the Guards were clumped up together too much. Maybe the Guards should have been on the right side of the tower, the Baby Dragon on the left, just to spread it out and clean up those skeletons a hair quicker.
So now the Poison being used offensively, trying to clear the way out. You know, Morten cannot at this stage just sit back and play defense. He has to get aggressive and get on tower.
Yeah, and that was a really nice NATO by Morten to force Lupanji to get more troops down right away defensively, and he just almost got that golem on tower, but this Ice Wizard and the NATO is such a powerful defense. So frustrating for Morten.
So the cannon cart coming across the river, and the cannon cart gets tower. That is huge.
Wow.
This is going to be it. Allegiance taking the game, set, and match win.
Yeah, that is a quick 2-up and 2 sets down. Morten and Lupanji duke it out and now have split the season, set a very, very big win for Allegiance.
The French team taking an all-important win at this stage. Both squads still very much in playoff contention, but now the tiebreaker does not automatically go to SK based on just the season split.
Yeah, and now SK falling behind Allegiance because of this loss today. A lot happening here in the standings. Not what Morten wanted to bring home for SK.
Although this is also an important note that the next tiebreaker is going to be set differential. Your plus-minus sets won versus lost over the season. Currently, SK Gaming is sitting ahead. I believe it's going to be 6 sets to 3 versus Allegiance. So with that season split, the tiebreaker is still currently in SK's favor.
Yeah, and you see this replay here. This is what I was talking about, Rich. You've got the Baby Dragon hiding behind Morten's player picture here, but he's also on top of guards, and it just felt like if he spread out his defense a little bit more, it may have cleaned up those skeletons just a bit quicker. And then you see the devastating cannon cart sneaking in that ranged attack, quick on those wheels. Morten just didn't have a response to pick it up, and that was Lupanji taking those second 2 games to steal the 1v1 set. And huge movement in the standings. It might only be 1 position, but Allegiance taking that 7-4 lead over SK, now not having to worry about the season split. SK Gaming in the position to lose their position in the playoffs.
And this is a really critical moment for our playoff picture. 3 and 4, of course, being in the first round. Allegiance now only has 1 team that can really knock them out, and that's Team Liquid. Fnatic might be able to do it, but that would be a very tough call at that point. So right now, Allegiance in a good spot with those 7 wins and sitting in the first round of playoffs. Next up, though, another big match for playoffs, especially in the context with SK being where they are after that game. It's 5-5 Team Liquid up against the European leaders in queso.
One epic fight ends, another begins, and this one's got it all. 5th place Team Liquid against top-ranked Team queso. Can Liquid make a push for the playoffs, or will the cheesy ones' reign of dominance continue? Gentlemen, start your engines.
All smiles in the tunnel, rivals and friends here to face off. Buffmac, the big-time hero for his squad, with a huge sweep of Lupanji, Doberman, and Wiko last time out. But a sweep artist himself, SoKing, just took out 3 in a row against Dignitas with that fantastic double-barrel bait deck. Our second match of the day also has pure playoff implications. It's #1 Team queso up against a squad with some of the #1 players in the world in Team Liquid.
Yeah, this is a big one, Rich. Coming out for queso today, we got Saint Belican, Benihoo, SoKing, and Kuchiku, and their opponents, as you just said, some of the most famous in the world, Diego B, Azilis, Surgical Goblin, and Buffmac, who has been the 2v2 specialist as of late.
Not just a 2v2 specialist, but that fantastic sweep.
Crazy.
Unbelievable play by Buffmac. And, of course, the #1 star on this Team Liquid squad, who we're excited to see more of him, of course. It is Surgical Goblin standing by with Christy St. John.
Surgical Goblin, you guys do a great job of staying positive and motivated all throughout this. Kind of you as the, I'm going to say, team captain. How do you help your team do that?
I mean, we're just, like, we all know that we're prepared, and we're just trying to have fun before the match. I mean, we're all really good friends and really good teammates, so, yeah, just having fun.
I mean, and speaking of preparation, you have beat Team Queso once. Now it's a little bit different with the balance update, and the standings so much more important, a little bit closer to playoffs. Are you prepared to beat them today?
Yeah, we definitely prepared a lot. I feel really confident. I'm going to play the 1-1, so hopefully I'll be able to win that. And yeah.
We'll see.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Christy. With the door open now after SK's morning loss, Team Liquid in a position, if they can repeat what happened last time against Queso, they could be in contention at this point for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
To see how these coaches want to prepare their squads, let's take a listen inside the war rooms.
All right, guys. Right now, we're on a 4-win streak. We've been absolutely destroying the 2v2, the 1v1, and the King of the Hill. Last time we played against Queso, we absolutely destroyed them. We knocked them off their undefeated high horse. So let's get out there and let's beat them again.
Hey,
let's get it, boys.
Go.
Let's go Liquid on 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go Liquid.
We are going to talk first about 2v2. Belly Benny versus Puffmac and Diego. One's the Tornado and Fireball. What are you seeing that it will be nice versus that Vance?
I really like the Baby Dragon because the splash damage is like...
Oh, I like it too.
And also the Royal Hogs because Fireball is the best counter to them.
Yeah, and what do you think about Flame Machines, for example?
Yeah, no, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With one Fireball, it works.
Okay, I like it. We know that once we prepare. Okay, Sokin, 1v1 contra Surgical. Van de tronco y tronco. ¿Tenés algo preparado por lo que vi? ¿Cómo estás?
A ver, el barril de bárbaros hay que usarlo, seguramente lo use Surgical también. Si usa Low Pit, tengo un mazo de golem, a ver si sale el matchup y tenemos suerte.
Ok, no voy a decir nada. No voy a decir nada, pero me gusta lo que tenés armado, creo que va a ir muy bien. 1, 2, 3, queso. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, queso!
We've got 2 top teams. We've got Clash Royale. What else could we possibly need? Snacks! Right, we've got snacks too. Good to go. Diego B and Buffmac, Benny Who and Saint Pelican. Let's 2v2 this thing.
Now, King, you know the rules. No snacks unless you brought enough for the entire class.
Hugs being given out by both squads here. You love the companionship and the sportsmanship between Liquid and Queso. Today, Liquid coming out with Diego B and Buffmac. No surprise there. They are in a 4-set win streak, and they've taken 3 of their last 4 matches. And then Team Queso, of course, Benny Who and Saint Pelican. This is a great duo. They are 2-2 together, however.
A complete replay of the last time. It was the exact same lineups for 2v2. The card bans for this entire potential 3-game set. Back to the old school, Fireball and Tornado.
Absolutely. So, the first thing you think about with the Fireball being out of play and the NATO is the Royal Hogs and how powerful they've been in the new meta.
So we'll see what happens. Last time, it was Team Liquid taking the set and eventually match with victory. Can they do it again? Team Queso's Benny Who and Saint Pelican, top of your screen. Diego B and Buffmac at the bottom. As I said before, Andrew, last time these squads faced off, it was the same pairs, and Liquid won both games. The first one running double Golem, double Prince, and staying completely in control the entire way.
Yeah, I mean, Liquid was the kickoff to the decline of Queso. Even if it was only for 2 matches, Queso losing 2 in a row and then bouncing back now on a 3-game win streak. Liquid obviously looking to repeat that exact same transaction.
Now, if Team Liquid does win today, Andrew, they would take the season sweep, but with Team Queso currently at 9-2, they would have to lose all the remaining games, and Liquid have to win all the remaining games to have an even record.
Yeah, and that seems like a pretty far-fetched idea to happen. Not really Liquid winning out, but Team Queso losing out does seem like something that would be pretty hard to happen for a team that's been so composed. And, we've talked about it many times when Queso plays their 2v2 duos. They keep talking about how they have like a hidden pair, and, that Anthony and Kuchikut duo's has never lost, and this duo's only lost twice, so they have such a powerful roster.
So getting towards the midway point, and we're starting to see this game take shape. It's the Lava Loon pushes of Team Liquid against the Lava MK double miner of Team Queso.
Yeah, and you know that that Mega Knight was brought in by Queso specifically to deal with Royal Hogs had they come into play. Although it appears that their teammates or their opponents are not playing the Royal Hogs, so that Mega Knight is going to have a hard time finding its place here in this first game.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if, as we get into double elixir time, they decide to throw one in there to force a defensive response at some point. But right now, they have to play really solid defense with their left-hand tower down at 929 up against this Lava Loon push.
Yeah, what Team Queso needs to do is recognize when the greatest ground counters are out of cycle for Liquid. They do not have many ground cards at all, so now they're going to try to create this push with the Mega Knight behind the Lava Hound. And Liquid's going to be in an interesting position here to try to defend that Mega Knight with only having the guards, I believe, is their main ground troop.
And that's going to be a leap on tower there, Andrew.
Yep, and that's exactly it, man. They got nothing to respond. It's just the guards and the miner, which is that's not enough. You know, you got to figure with the deck building here, Team Liquid was probably expecting Queso to play something very, very different, not having any great ground responses.
Well, you know, you look at this matchup at first and you go, oh, what's the purpose of this Mega Knight? A defensive troop often in there to deal with Royal Hogs, as you've said. But partway through, Team Queso looking at the deck construction going, wait, they might not have much in the way of responses to this deck. And there you go, some fantastic defense. Cheers from Team Queso's bench, knowing that they took this one with some very heads-up play.
Yeah, it was really just, this was one of those instances where deck composition and matchup was a very, very big factor in who took this first game. You know, two of the best teams in the world, especially here in the EU. You got both Mac and Diego be an incredible 2v2 duo, not having any responses. Look at their hands here. We got 8 cards, nothing on the ground other than the poison. So they go, what do? Well, let's just cycle through. But the problem is they don't have enough elixir to get back to the guards in time. And even if they did get back to the guards in time, Rich, it's a splash damage Mega Knight. It's going to take those out in 2 swings anyway. A massive push from Team Queso.
Benny Who and St. Belican realizing partway through this card that appears to be a dead card in the deck, doing the math and going, you know what, let's play it all the way behind their King Tower and build some opportunities for it, taking lemons and making lemonade.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what happens in game number 2.
Let's go. Let's go.
Game number 2, reminder your ban cards Fireball and Tornado, which is part of why that Mega Knight made it in the deck the first time.
And there it is once again. This is a very, very high-profile match. You know, both these benches can feel all the pressure with so many of the most famous players in the world here. And Team Queso's coach demanding more from his team, even with taking that first game, saying, we got to work on our communication. So let's see how Belican and Benny Who bring that in this game.
You gotta feel like the pressure's a little bit more on Team Liquid and on the bubble in this playoff spot, whereas Team Queso at 9-2, most likely having clinched a spot in the top 4.
Yes, absolutely. It feels very, very difficult of an idea for Queso not to make it to playoffs at this point. A lot of crazy things would have to happen. Things that most likely will not happen, Rich. I have a feeling Queso will definitely be in playoffs, even if it is in that 4th spot.
But look, anything can happen at CRL, which is why we're here calling these games. You never know. And right now, it's some Royal Hogs coming down the right-hand lane, but we see a Lava Hound push developing on the left.
And Team Liquid not really having any great responses to the Royal Hogs. I mean, we were both kind of surprised to not see them in the first game with the NATO and the Fireball out of play. So with that, now Royal Hogs being in the hands of Team Queso, what is Liquid going to respond with? Is it going to be another situation where they're just kind of caught wanting defensively?
Well, they're not wanting too much here on the left-hand side. That tower getting down to 924. So, you know, Andrew, maybe part of their game plan is to just deal with the Royal Hog damage as it comes and think that they have more overall firepower, especially in double elixir time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And now we see that Magic Archer coming down immediately behind those Royal Hogs, hoping to get a connection. But Team Liquid says, no, 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 we see that, and they drop that Mega Minion to distract.
So we're talking about this defense. It's not like they're stopping the Royal Hog push.
Right.
But you got to wonder if they're just like, we're going to go blow for blow and see who gets knocked out first.
Absolutely. And right now it's like Team Queso's throwing jabs and Team Liquid's throwing haymakers. So with this big Lava Hound push, again, they're cleaning up the Royal Hogs pretty well. I mean, this is most likely going to end up being a 2-tower game. Liquid opting not to sacrifice their tower, dropping that Mega Minion. And this is going to be the push that kind of determines everything here, Rich, for Team Liquid.
So Miner does get on tower, supported by
so does
that
the
poison
cannon
and the
cart.
cannon cart. Nice call there, Andrew.
Wow, that is so... Now Team Queso in a very interesting position. They most likely will be able to take this tower, but they're going to have to sacrifice a lot of elixir, I believe, in order to even this game up.
And forced to play a poison because that was a pretty much picture-perfect play on the Royal Hogs defensively.
And 366 on the tower. I don't know if they missed the poison or what happened there, or if it was... Yeah, they missed it because that was a red poison, Rich. That was a straight-up missed poison.
Wow.
That is going to be the cost. You don't even recognize, because, you know, it's got the red circle around it. You're like, so that's got to be the red teams. But you're like, how does Queso miss a poison in that moment? But they just straight outright missed it.
We got to take a look at that one again. A huge moment there. So first it was the Royal Hog push getting picked up quite perfectly. So here we go. Let's look at these last couple of moments. You see the tower going down on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
the Miner cannon cart.
Yeah, coming through, getting those shots off, taking the tower very easily. And then you see right here, Rich, it looks like
just
that's
by
a red poison.
I mean, maybe it's just missing by as close as it possibly can.
I mean, it even looked like it was touching the tower, and that is a crazy, crazy misplay for Team Queso. Now, you wonder if they would have even been able to get the rest of the damage there in time, but wow, not a play you want to be making in this moment.
Well, you got to think that maybe reacting to the Royal Hog failed push. Game number 3 underway. Andrew, we've talked before about how mistakes lead to more mistakes, or stressful moments create mistakes.
Yep.
And you got to imagine that Team Queso did not expect that Royal Hog push to get picked up. So they're going, hey, we need to get spell damage on tower, and missing by just one tile.
Yeah, it's those moments that everything is all happening at once, and just one tile of a misclick could be the reason why Liquid had that very first game. I mean, it appeared that they were in a pretty commanding position once that cannon cart took the tower, but that was a very, very opportune moment to catch up for Queso, and just barely missed it.
So a very different look right now from Team Liquid, going with the Royal Hog decks, but taking a look at what's going on from Team Queso, they do have at least one good response in that Mega Knight.
Yep, and that pre-log not catching anything, but still getting a lot of damage on that left-hand tower.
So this might be big here, though. If that Mega Knight can get away all raged up, and one big jump on the tower would be quite a lot.
So now here's the thing. Even if the Mega Knight's still going to make it, that is massive. And I was going to say Liquid is still at a huge elixir deficit, and that is why those Hogs are coming down the left-hand lane, still at an elixir deficit right now with massive damage on both towers.
And a Magic Archer doing work as well. So now as we pass the midway point, it is Team Queso with a significant lead.
I was just going to say the guards will probably come in, but really surprising to let them drop right on the center there, allowing that Magic Archer to get one hit on the tower. Obviously not a huge deal, but just a slight misplay.
So looking at deck construction here, Andrew, you know, while they're both playing Royal Hogs, it appears at first glance that Team Queso has better defensive answers.
Yeah, it definitely does. Team Liquid here, I don't know if I love their deck synergy. You know, it just seems like it's not really firing the same way that Team Queso's is. I mean, they do have a good amount of damage on that tower on the left-hand side, but so does Queso.
Well, I mean, they are definitely getting damage across the lane, but it's just Queso is able to keep so much pressure and keep damaging them. And you look at the difference, one tower down, another tower all more than halfway. King Tower a third of the way down as well.
Yeah, and a very, very, you know, those cannons with that just a little bit more HP than Tombstone's doing a great job picking up all the Royal Hogs, giving just enough time to play defense and stop them. Mega Knight coming down on the weaker lane, very, very good decision-making by Team Queso, and it appears they're going to they're going to probably take out the set.
As long as they can defend here, though, Liquid can send us into sudden death overtime, and picking up both the Mega Knight and the Royal Hogs pretty well. That left-hand tower, though, is under significant duress, so they need to find some way to break through before that gets into spell cycle range.
And it appears that Liquid is about a 2 elixir deficit, so not a massive deficit here, but this is a lot of damage coming in, and they just attacked hard on the right. Great job by Queso, recognizing, committing, and the bench of Queso is on their feet.
They are fired up. That was a great win by Team Queso, and you know, Diego B and Buffmac, fantastically talented players. They have had really good synergy together so far most of the way through, but from a deck construction standpoint, this seems like it might have been a bit of an oversight.
Yeah, I mean, that Mega Knight raged up with the bats behind it. The guards come in very late. At the same time, you got the Royal Hogs in the left lane, and you look at the elixir bars of Team Liquid, nothing to go in response. So he drops the Magic Archer to try to pick up theirs. Too little, too late. You see this Hog push coming in. The cannon did a great job the entire match, or the entire set for Team Queso, and that take in the very bottom left with those Royal Hogs is all that they needed to take that very first set.
You know, Andrew, we don't talk about matchup very often in 2v2 compared to 1v1.
Yes.
But it seems to me like maybe Team Liquid, with what they had defensively, didn't put Queso on Royal Hogs again, maybe expecting a Golem deck to take advantage of that Tornado ban.
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising. You saw how much damage that Mega Knight did to Team Liquid in the second game, and the adjustments by Team Liquid going into the third game would make you think exactly that. They didn't expect the same archetype to come out. They didn't expect them to just keep that Mega Knight in the pocket for all 3 games. It was very interesting deck choice by Queso.
Well, potentially 3 more games coming up. A heavyweight matchup in 1v1. It's Surgical Goblin against Soking.
This next battle needs no introduction. It needs no extra hype, no clever wordplay. I'll just say 2 names and you'll be excited. Guaranteed. Are you ready? Surgical Goblin, Soking. Told you so. It's time for the 1v1 showdown.
We are all very excited for this one, the kind of matchup you wanted to see here at CRL. 2 big-time players going toe-to-toe.
Yeah, we got Surgical Goblin coming out for Team Liquid. He needs no introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. He's 3-1 in 1v1 sets with an overall game record of 7-3. And Soking from Team Queso, actually in a mirror match in that sense, also 3-1 in 1v1 sets with a record of 7-3. However, Soking is 4-1 in King of the Hill, where Surge is only 1-5.
To continue the mirror theme here, Andrew, let's take a look at the ban cards for all potential 3 games, because it is double log ban.
Banned card, so you wonder, with both these guys banning log, do you think that Bar Barrel is going to pop in the deck instead? Because the log obviously providing a little bit more utility, Bar Barrel a little bit more tankage.
Surgical Goblin, Soking, a big-time matchup. Let's go. Soking, top of your screen, Surgical Goblin at the bottom. Andrew, you mentioned the Barbarian Barrel, which seems to have become sort of the surprising hero of the recent balance update.
Absolutely. It's been used so often and a lot in graveyard decks with that very quick 7 elixir Bar Barrel graveyard combo to have a great tank already up in the Princess Tower face of your opponent.
So some stuff we haven't seen a lot of in 1v1 here at CRL, except for this last week. The Goblin Hut also recently updated with that faster, slightly faster spawn rate, up against a giant deck which has not been the beatdown meta here in our head-to-head play.
Yeah, an interesting use of the cannon card there. You know, both the Prince and the cannon card gaining a bit of strength without having that bar or that log in play with the knockback for both of them.
So it is a graveyard deck for Soking. So let's talk a little bit, Andrew, about the synergy between the Goblin Hut and a graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we saw before in Team Queso. Very, very happy with that first trade of damage. The Goblin Hut just increasing, you know, first of all, it's spell bait, right? You see the Goblin Hut come down, you want to poison it immediately. So that's one thing that is a very, very big part of the synergy with Graveyard. And the other thing is if you got Skellies on the tower, a tank in between, and Spear Goblin behind, that's just a ton to deal with in 3 different levels.
So talk about changing things up here.
Yeah.
Surgical Goblin going Sparky Giant and choosing to go opposite lane.
Yeah, and I like the choice to go opposite lane. Already seeing the cards that is in Soking's hand, or are in Soking's hand. Splitting his focus here is a big menace for Soking to deal with. Now you see he has to basically sacrifice his cannon card and still takes a couple hits on the left side tower. And in this position, if I'm Surge, I just ignore the Mega Minion and the Ice Wizard. Spear Goblins, you know, cheap enough.
So very fascinating deck choices by both of these players. And that's been the fun thing about this season taking place over so long, is we get to see the deck shift with different balance updates.
Yeah, and with that last card in Soking's deck, you wonder if it's something a bit tankier or if it is, in fact, that Barbarian Barrel. And you've got to think it's not a spell at this point, dropping a graveyard on defense right here. And it's a great use of the graveyard on defense. Never really an ideal move, but it does stop, as you can see, that Sparky completely in its tracks.
Yeah, graveyard against Sparky gets that big charge up, distracted, placed in a wrong direction. So talking about how Soking plays this as we move forward into sudden death overtime, might he try to catch the next Sparky near the Princess Tower with a graveyard?
Totally, and that's one of the greatest interactions if your opponent has a Sparky, is to drop the graveyard on top of the Sparky on the Princess Tower. And now Soking in a very dangerous position. That Sparky's still healthy, and that graveyard is out of gas.
So can he get that? And there we go. The Sparky is distracted long enough to go down. And he doesn't have a graveyard yet to distract here in the back. So at the moment, Surgical Goblin getting the better of the cycles.
Yeah, and that Sparky demanding such a response defensively, cleaning up your troops so quickly. It gets so much value if it's left alive. It just eats through your opponent's elixir. Now Surge doing a very good job of keeping the pressure up, and Soking doing a great job of efficiently defending, but someone's going to make a mistake soon, Rich.
And there we go. Now we see that graveyard in the back, so this is going to be a big moment here. Can Surgical Goblin defend against this graveyard poison push at full strength?
And Rich, that fireball that Surge threw out to keep those units from crossing the river, it looked like it could be good night for him, but he had an excellent, excellent fireball to stop all the units that would have tanked for that graveyard, saving his game. And those bats doing exactly what he intended them to do.
And the NATO not quite taking out the Sparky.
Yeah, and it ends up being okay, but that sliver of health was real scary for Soking for a second.
Two top pros playing pretty much at their best right now, putting on a showcase match here, even when the stakes are high.
Wow, and that Royal Ghost is on the tower with the Giant tanking for it. This could be a huge, huge moment for Surge. And one more, nope.
He is behind Surgical Goblin by about 2 elixir here, and that Goblin Hut looks like it might be a big part of how Soking wants to keep all that heavy stuff away from its tower.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about Soking's deck that we haven't talked a lot about is it does have great responses to that Sparky. You know, the Cannon Cart having basically 2 lives, the Goblin Hut soaking up a shot, you know, the Ice Golem coming in, and then also being able to pull it away with the NATO. A lot of good responses to a card that he probably wasn't expecting to see.
So I guess the question now is, how does Surgical Goblin break through here and while not giving up a big graveyard spot?
I mean, this is a big moment for Soking right here. This could be the moment that's deciding whether or not he's going to play for a draw or if he's going to try to take this W, and that is going to be it. That is going to be all that she wrote for Surgical. Soking huge, and his bench is even more excited than he is.
A slightly non-traditional matchup, at least here in CRL terms. Giant Sparky. Look, a fantastic and curious deck choice from Surgical Goblin, saying, you know, maybe I'll catch my opponent off guard. And it nearly did pay off for him, but in the end, so many responses, he just could not keep up with this graveyard.
Yeah, and he did a very, very great job defending for a long time, but you see right here, those Spear Goblins dropped in the poison, the Royal Ghost not being able to target enough, and a ton of damage on that first graveyard push. But there's that fireball I was talking about. It looked like Soking was going to take the game right here, but Surge, great heads-up fireball, stops it all and prolongs death just a bit longer. And the Sparky being distracted by the graveyard was the big factor in the game, Rich. You mentioned it very early on, and your big win condition getting out of play, focusing on those skeletons, is not what you want it doing.
So Surgical Goblin doing very well in a very difficult matchup situation, but not quite well enough. It is Soking taking game number 1 and putting Team Queso now in a fantastic position.
Yeah, Surge has got a lot on his shoulders right now. Really, really, really wanting to take this. Now, they don't need the season set, but he's got to want to take it.
Vamos, papi. Vamos. Soking.
So one more time, the only ban card for this set is the Log. We didn't see the Barbarian Barrel last time. Might we see it this time around?
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised we didn't see it last game. And season sweep is what I was trying to say, Rich. Right now, Surgical really wants to bring that season sweep home, because if they get in a position of being tied with Queso, Queso will definitely have all the other tiebreakers over them.
Could we be seeing some more graveyard play here, Andrew?
Yeah, interesting to see that Dark Goblin come into play. We've seen him a couple times in bait decks, but definitely not a bait deck that he's running right now.
Soaking continuing to play decks that we haven't seen a ton here at CRL, or making slight changes to mix things up. Surgical Goblin looking like he might be running that graveyard deck that we've seen a couple of times.
Yeah, we honestly, I was going to say, we might be seeing some sort of odd tank-style deck coming out with the Mega Minion, with the Baby Dragon. You know, the Dark Goblin providing a ton of utility, a ton of damage. Not usually in most Golem decks, though.
You know, I'm wondering if Soaking chose the Dark Goblin as a replacement for the Magic Archer, maybe assuming a Barbarian Barrel as that 2-cost response to a Magic Archer wouldn't be as effective against 3.
Although the Bar Barrel does just roll right over that. Yeah, it's a better trade. That's a very interesting point that you make there, Rich.
I get him every once in a while. So here we are, passing the midway point of regulation, and it is Soaking ahead by a not insignificant margin.
And this is going to be an interesting point to see what happens the next time Soaking Golems up. Is Surgical going to opt to go hard in the other lane with, let's say, maybe a Bar Barrel and a Graveyard?
He does have a lot of good defensive troops in response to a Golem push. So that's a hard choice. Like you said, do you go hard opposite lane, or do you know that you have a lot of defensive options? And here we go, we're going hard same lane.
Yeah, he's going to push right into it. Probably has a lot to do with that Baby Dragon staying alive and healthy, now knowing he can NATO all these units together if necessary, which I think he should do, because he can clean up that Dark Goblin, which is going to be a menace. Now, a healthy Dark Goblin behind the Golem, a unit that could have been taken out earlier, may come back to bite Surgical in the butt.
But here, look at that, the high play of the cannon cart, hoping it goes down to turn the Golem around. It doesn't do so, but the Tornado pulling all those troops back.
And the log coming in, great defense from Surgical. This deck, obviously, you know, the Baby Dragon, the NATO, and the Ice Wizard provide so much defensive powers.
The Barb Barrel coming in.
Yes.
So it looks so similar when you're saying it quick. That Bar Barrel, though, giving so much utility as of late.
And there's the switch in the lanes, and that Royal Ghost coming down just in time. A very impressive play. Now, it doesn't seem like it, but that Royal Ghost has to come down instantly so it can get a hit off and take focus from the cannon cart.
Soaking with a Barbarian Barrel of his own to respond to that Graveyard. So it really all comes down to this push, it feels like. If Surgical Goblin can play good defense and not overspend, could have a lot left to push the opposite direction.
And I do think the log is such an interesting band with the Barbarian Barrel being in the game now. It's almost like, I don't know, it just doesn't make a ton of sense because it has such a quick card or a great response to be replaced by.
Maybe a question we can get answered after the match by whoever the winner is of this 1v1 set. And right now, Surgical Goblin putting the pressure on. That's a lot of troops on the board. Double Baby Dragons getting on
and
tower.
A cannon cart sneaking in, going to clean up that, and that's going to be probably this game for Surgical, getting that last shot in from the cannon cart.
Wow, that is unbelievable, Andrew. It really felt like he was in trouble.
Yeah.
And you know, we talked about whether he pushes in or doesn't.
Yep.
He went same lane, preserved some defensive options, and that last Golem push we talked about a minute ago, that seemed like the entire match hung in the balance, and he played perfect defense.
I mean, he did such a great job of playing, as you said, perfect defense, but also about keeping his defensive units very, very healthy, and that's part of playing perfect defense, because now he's got 2 healthy Baby Dragons, a healthy cannon cart, an Ice Wizard being protected, and a NATO in his hand. Like, so much elixir at his disposal. It would have been a miracle for Soaking to defend that.
That was a huge tornado there at the end. So Surgical Goblin taking game number 2, and what has so far been a set of curiosities, a set of changes, a set of things that maybe you haven't seen on your own, and we've been so excited to see here.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are they going to show us here in game number 3?
Game number 3 underway, and with all the meta-breaking decks we've seen so far, Andrew, let's guess things that make no sense. So I'm going to say it's going to be Expo Royal Giant here.
And I was just going to say a bait deck, and now man, I was so excited. I would have been right. Except for I was actually going to guess Surgical would run a bait deck because he's known to love them. But with Log being out of play, it does seem like a really great option.
Well, it looks like my totally likely to be played Expo Royal Giant is not going to happen. And here we're seeing shades of Lava Loon from Surgical Goblin.
And a great zap coming in, not hitting the Inferno Dragon with the Fireball. I get cleaning up the Rascals, but he probably would have had a decent amount of damage on that tower had the Inferno Dragon been taken out.
And Soking has arrows.
Yep, and Surgical says good game. So I don't know if Soking was expecting to play against Lava Hound, but those arrows have not shown up a lot in CRL, and they are the perfect counter to the Lava Pups popping.
Yeah, nice little savings there. Instead of spending 4 on Fireball, spending 3 on arrows. So Soking right now, between the Inferno Dragon and arrows, and the Princess, don't forget that, having some good aerial responses.
Now, we do not know if Surge has the balloon yet. Probably does, but going to be very, very interesting to see if Soking has another spell like a rocket or a tower or something in there to pull a balloon away. And Surge just keeps saying good game, recognizing this quick cycle deck is going to be too much for him to deal with in the single elixir time.
Yeah, Surge giving matchup props to Soking early on, and the way Soking has been playing, you don't expect any serious mistake. Now Surgical opting to go a different direction now with the Miner tanking for the guards.
Yeah, but now, you know, his 2 best ground cards are out of play. So that Royal Ghost is probably just going to walk straight to tower, which Surge can deal with because he's got to focus on this right-hand tower, but the right-hand tower is going to go down. So Surge is basically at a loss here because he has to fireball the Goblin Barrel every time and do a -1 elixir trade. He has to hope that he catches him with the guards, then losing his best defensive ground response. So yeah, this is just a straight-up brutal matchup for Surgical Goblin.
Soking, though, great choices, recognizing with the log out of play because of the ban. Barbarian Barrel being the only option and making the bet that his opponent wouldn't run Barbarian Barrel.
Yeah, really great deck composition here, and you see that Lava Hound coming in and taking the tower, which is great for Surge. You know,
this is a lot of troops here, though, Andrew.
We need arrows, and we need them now. And that Inferno Dragon healthy. Okay, wow. That was almost a huge misplay by Soking, just basically giving the game away. Now that tower at 900 health in the left-hand corner of your screen. Surge is fighting for his life right now.
So the question is, will he meet this push down the right-hand side, or just let that King Tower do what it does at the higher HP and just choose to defend the left-hand side and try to find some way through?
And Surgical kind of anticipating all the moves that Soking was about to make, getting the right cards in the right place to play correct defense, getting the Fireball down, picking up the Rascals. Really great job by Surge, but how long can he keep this up?
Well, we've already seen him play as good of defense as you can in a tough situation. Seeing him do it here again. Looks like it's going to be a little bit too little, though, this time around. And Team Queso taking it again. Soking has really just been on a tear here in this later half of the season.
Yeah, and for a team that's in first place, they are celebrating like they are in last, and you gotta love that kind of enthusiasm. Taking down one of the best teams in the world, taking down arguably the best in the world in Surgical Goblin. Soking never loses his cool. You can call it matchup, you can call it deck choice, you can call it whatever you'd like, but right now Soking is unstoppable.
You know what, Andrew? I'll call it a win. How about that?
There you go.
Unbelievable play by Team Queso from top to bottom. And, you know, look, you have to give credit to Surge, though, in this situation. In 2 very difficult matchups, played about as good of defense as you can expect from anybody, and nearly took game number 3. And that's next level play. You play fantastic defense, you wait for an opening, and you take it. But Soking, look, there's certain cards you see pop every once in a while, like arrows, and you're going, what are you doing? But making the call, putting them in his deck, and paying off here for the Spaniard.
Yeah, you got to admire Surgical Goblin playing great defense, staying in it despite having a bad matchup. And you see right here, this Lava Hound push coming in looks great, but in the bottom right, you've got a Royal Ghost and a Goblin Barrel on the tower being defended by the Mega Knight, and then the insult to injury is the arrows coming in the top left. And then right here, you see once again, Surge creating a massive push. It looks like he might even be able to take the 3 crown. That arrows coming in just a hair early was maybe almost a big deciding factor in this matchup. However, Soking staying alive, playing, I love this Rascals in the pocket, Goblin Barrel behind, and it's just too much for Surge to handle, and Soking taking it once again for Team Queso, who now has the season split over Liquid, a very, very important factor, Rich.
And so fired up is Soking, and that's what I really love about CRL. being a true team format.
Yes.
Right? Is that these guys aren't just playing for themselves, they're playing for their teammates. And you see, it's not So King there celebrating for himself. He immediately looks to his bench and goes, guys, we just did it. And it's so fun to watch here.
And that's why it's so heartbreaking when you see players, especially in the 1v1 in the King of the Hill, lose and you see them get emotional. It's because they don't feel like they've just let themselves down. They let down their whole team, their analyst, their coach, their manager. There's a lot riding on this, and you gotta love the celebration from Team Queso. They earned it today.
A lot to celebrate now, moving one step closer to securing that #1 position in the region, and due in no small part to a man who is on an unbelievable tear right now. Christy St. John has some questions for the man of the match today, So King.
Thanks, guys. So King, revenge and a sweep against Team Liquid, taking the 1v1 against Surgical Goblin. How you feeling?
I'm really happy because I learned a lot from Surgical Goblin, and winning him right now with a revenge is really happy.
I've certainly never heard your team louder than I have today. I mean, they were on their feet. It was infectious. Now, I have to ask you, in game one, I saw something that I'd never seen before. I had a Sparky Giant combo, and then you had to drop a defensive graveyard at the bridge. Tell me about that.
Yeah, because I didn't have anything like SAP or E-Wish to reset the Sparky, and the only thing that I had to do was the graveyard defensive. And yeah, that was hard because I always had the pressure, but with the graveyard, I could save it.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me. Great game. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Christy. Just fantastic performance once again from So King, and this is a big day because this really affects our playoff picture.
Yes, the student has become the master. Team Queso now at 10-2, Team Liquid at 5-6, slowly feeling their playoff hopes slipping away. They need to make something happen in their next few matches.
But Team Queso now clinching a spot in the playoffs, and it would be very difficult for them to lose one of those top two spots. Of course, the #2 spot getting a first round bye, and the #1 spot getting a first and second round bye on the way to the World Finals.
Yes, and the World Finals are taking place in Tokyo, Japan on December 1st, and you can go in-game to your news tab so you can join Rich and I there.
And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe on the Clash Royale Esports YouTube page and ring that bell to get all your notifications, and go to esports.clashroyale.com for all your standings info, and of course, as Andrew just mentioned, the esports tab in your Clash Royale app. We will be back on Tuesday, October 9th with more European region action as we move closer to the end of our season. I'm Rich Slayton, that's Andrew Guy. We will see you Tuesday back in the arena.
And so, friends, we have come to the close of another destruction-filled day in the Clash Royale League. Seriously, my royal janitors are going to have their hands full after this one. Rest assured, much more destruction lies ahead as the playoffs grow near. Who will secure a spot in the top 4? Who will triumph in Europe? Who will earn a trip to the World Finals in Tokyo? So many questions. To find out the answers, keep watching. Subscribe to the Clash Royale Esports channel, and remember, even when the sun is shining, a tornado can spawn in an instant. Just a reminder, there's really nothing you can do about it.